Welcome back, True Seeker. For 8 years, I've been talking about Prince's death by the numbers and its connection to the 2016 election. So now his full-blood sibling, Tyka Nelson, who also had a music career, has died on the eve of the 2024 election. She also died one day after Sunday Night Football saw her home state, the Minnesota Vikings, beat the Colts and become 4-1 at home, reminding us that Prince performed at Super Bowl 41 where the Colts defeated the Bears. And you might recall that was the only Super Bowl where it rained at halftime as Prince performed Purple Rain. I want to read the Rolling Stone beginning of the article and then go over everything else here. So, Tyka Nelson, Prince's sister, and if I'm saying her name right, it might be Tyka. Apologies. Not as familiar with her as the brother. But Prince's sister, as well as a musician in her own right, died Monday, November 4th, according to the Minnesota Star-Tribune. She was 64. Now, consider her and Prince were born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which equates to 114. On Sunday Night Football, Joe Flacco, who started for the Colts, stayed on 114 career wins, picked up his 55th road loss when Minneapolis is 55. Again, you learn this code of Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, you see through all these rituals. Prince's hit song, I Would Die For You, with the number 4 and the letter U. U is the 21st letter of the alphabet. He died on 4/21, the Queen's birthday. They lit up Niagara Falls purple that day. Vanity, his girlfriend, had died the day of the 58th Grammys earlier that year, en route to the 58th election won by Trump, where Bill and Hillary conceded him purple. But again, Vanity was from Niagara Falls, died the day of the 58th Grammys, which was also the anniversary of Prince's mother's death. Again, just all this stuff is so ritualistic, and when you learn Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words, you really see what's going on. Now, in light of this being about the election, look at the next paragraph. Nelson's son, President Nelson, her son's name is President Nelson, confirmed her death but did not provide a cause. Nelson was Prince's only full sibling, born 2 years after her brother on May 18th, 1960. Here we are, the day before the 60th U.S. presidential election, where Kamala just turned 60, where Tim Walz from Minnesota is supposedly 60, even though he looks 75, where Donald Trump lost his ex-wife who fell down the stairs and died exactly 60 weeks into the first ever Jesuit Nation year, and on and on and on. The whole controversy was 60 minutes editing the Kamala interview, and on and on and on. Alvin Bragg, 60. Indictment, 60. Now the woman born in 60, Prince's sister, when the brother was used in the last selection of the Donald. And keep in mind her date of birth is the 18th day of the 5th month, like 18/5. Donald John Trump equals 185. The article goes on. She was born May 18th, 1960 to John L. Nelson and Maddie Shawn Nelson. In the late 80s, Nelson followed her brother into music, releasing her first album, Royal Blue, in 1988. That was the year that Reagan's VP, George H.W. Bush, won election. That album featured her two most successful songs, with Mark Anthony's Tune reaching number 33, Say It Isn't So, on the Billboard Hot R&B Hip-Hop Songs chart, and Love reaching number 52. That's perfect because Minnesota equals 52, like they hosted Super Bowl 52. Heart equals 52, which we associate with love. And for the record, Royal Blue, you hear that and you think the Democratic Party because they identify with blue. But remember, back in the day, blue was more associated with the Republican Party, even in the 80s. The red and blue official colors for the parties really started to happen in 2000, the year of George W. Bush. But anyway, Nelson released 3 more albums, Yellow Moon, Red Sky in 92, A Brand New Me in 2008, and Hustler in 2011. This summer, she was slated to perform and MC a retirement concert at the Dakota in Minneapolis, but she fell ill before the gig and dropped out. The show went on without her. In an interview at the time, Nelson told the Star Tribune she was working on a new mixtape and memoir. So, again, the eve before her death, the Vikings beat the Colts. And again, Prince performed in the only Super Bowl with rain where the Colts beat the Bears. They're from Minnesota. Notice how the score was 21-13. Prince equates to 34. Purple equates to 34 in Gematria, as does fentanyl, as does murder. And remember, purple is the color historically associated with poison. A lot of people have died from fentanyl poisoning. It's also the color associated with royalty. And there were so many purple rituals in 2016. Prince dies. Then LeBron wins the finals on the real King James's birthday. Then Trump has his convention in the same stadium and comes out to Queen, We Are the Champions. Perfectly synced with Elizabeth when Prince had just died on Elizabeth's birthday, as in Queen Elizabeth when royalty wears purple. The Vikings, the purple football team, once known as the Purple People Eaters. Jim Irsay of the Colts bought Prince's guitar right after he passed. Look how perfect all this is. Again, 34 points before the game was played. You know, we smoked the NFL again this week. Showed out was all synced up with the politics. Why this game in tribute to Prince was on November 3rd, the day leaving 58 days left in the year. Just like how he was 86th for the 58th election after Trump announced from the 58-story Trump Tower. And then again, LeBron won the finals on the real King James's birthday when the real King James died at 58. Then Trump's convention's there. All this stuff, high ritual. One perfect script. And when you know Gematria, you can see how it all really strings together. But notice in Gematria, purple rain equals 58, like Freemasonry, like Rosicrucian, like secret society. This game, the Sunday before she passed, on the day leaving 58 days left in the year. And that means the day she died on, the next day, November 4th, again, 114, like Minneapolis, Minnesota, like Flacco staying on 114 wins in the game. That is the first of the last 58 days of the year, the day she died. You could also say it's the day leaving 57 days left in the year, reminding us that Prince died at 57. And when you die at 57, that means you died in your 58th year of life. Now remember, when Prince died on 4/21, I would die for you. He died 201 days before the election. 201, very special number to the Jesuits who created modern Freemasonry. Again, all these 58 words right here. King James, the real one, was a Freemason and Rosicrucian. The first degree of Freemasonry is the apprentice, like how the apprentice won that year, Donald Trump. But again, he died 201 days before the election in 2016. Very special number to the Jesuits who created modern Freemasonry. We're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. There's only two teams in the NFL that have a 201 connection, Minnesota Vikings and the Indianapolis Colts. And their owner, Jim Irsay, the Colts, the guy who bought Prince's guitar, he's born on June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Again, Inauguration Day is the 201st day of the nation's age, 20/1. And it wasn't always that day, just like the capital wasn't always D.C., where the Jesuits set up camp when they came to America, and D.C. is now known as the Masonic City, how these things fit together. But notice the Jesuit order also 201. Just like Ignatius of Loyola is 201, their founder. Just like Jorge Mario Bergoglio is 201, who is Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, when the last French pope was the 201st in the history of the church, and the Jesuits are from France. And one of her songs on that 1988 album was called Paris, where the Jesuits were created. Now notice her passing came 144 days after Jim Irsay's birthday. Jesuit order alone's 144. Trump's birthday is the very next day, June 14th, which is the flag's birthday, which means the election's 144 days after his birthday, not to mention the election falls on November 5th this year. Remember, the 5th of November is when the Jesuits tried to blow up King James. Familiar themes. Keep in mind, Jim Irsay is 65 years old right now. Prince's sister just died at 64, like Trump's Jesuit education began in 64, the same year Kamala was born. But Prince equals 65 like music. The sister dying at 64 means she died in her 65th year of life. Again, she was born on 18/5, like 185, going with Donald John Trump. Her son announced the death the day before the election, President Nelson. You think these people are even naming their own children? I mean, come on. President Nelson equals 72 forwards, 81 in reverse. If you're new here, the four base ciphers of the English language are alphabetic order forwards and backwards with numerology. Same ciphers we've been talking about since Prince died. But President Nelson, President Trump, President Biden, they're all 72 forwards. Kamala's birthday, October 20th, leaves 72 days left in the year. Paris equals 72, like her song on the 88 album. We got the first Jesuit Pope on the 72nd day of the year. Again, Kamala's birthday, got the 72 connection. They're all connected through this same number. 72 names of God in Kabbalah, 72 demons in the Goetia. You run it in reverse, all of their names are 81, like Biden beat Trump supposedly in 2020 with 81 million votes. He's from Scranton off I-81. I told you when they took office that he'd pass the torch to Kamala when he was 81 and she was 59, like the 59th election, exactly what they did. Kamala supposedly raised a record 81 million in 24 hours. For the record, Tyka's 12 like Kamala. Tyka Nelson or Tyka Nelson's 37 like Harris. 37's the 12th prime. But her name's also 134 like Make America Great Again. So you can see how this person pays tribute to the election so perfectly. Just like what we talked about, what they did with the Chiefs game last night as they beat the Bucs, which was so obvious to see, where they paid tribute to both Trump and Kamala. Andy Reid got his 152nd all-time win with the Chiefs. Kamala Devi Harris 152. Mahomes, the quarterback, became 97 and 25 when 97 is the 25th prime and Trump equals 25. He also got his 25th win in prime time. And it reminds that the NFL season that concluded right as Trump became president was the 97th season, the one with the 25-point comeback on 2-5 where Trump said he was cheering for the Patriots. Again, fixed sports, rigged elections, all controlled by this Jesuit Masonic cabal, the Lombardi Trophy. Lombardi was a Jesuit. American football credited to Walter Camp, a Scottish Rite Freemason. D.C., the Jesuit Masonic city. Again, they run this nation, its government, its entertainment, and ritualistic death is a big part of it. So R.I.P. to Ms. Nelson, Mrs. Nelson. R.I.P. to Prince. And again, when you vote in these rigged selections, you become part of this evil. Voting for the lesser of two evils makes you part of the evil. These parties do not represent us. They might have different rhetoric, but they're part of the same corrupt, evil system that's all based in lies and tyranny and death. And this is another clear example. Until next time, Truth Seeker.